Good morning and welcome. You're watching Market Fatafat. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri, and over the next half hour, we'll take you through what's making news in the markets that abroad as well as back at home. We begin with a look at how the U.S. is doing. Well, U.S. stock futures are a little changed today as persistent uncertainty over the U.S.-Iran deal and expectations really for a tighter monetary policy are weighing in on that sentiment. In regular trading on Monday, of course, the Dow fell about 0.11%, while the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq were both declining. Now, oil prices, of course, are rallying sharply as uncertainty surrounding the Middle East conflict continues to weigh in on the markets, pushing Treasury yields higher and raising concerns that the Fed Reserve may need to raise interest rates soon, despite signs of a cooling labor market. Now, investors, of course, are eyeing inflation data due this week for further clues on the monetary policy outlook. Let's quickly turn our attention now to the commodities. Now, oil prices have jumped about 5% Monday as doubts are growing that the US and Iran will eventually reach a deal to increase ship traffic through the strait. Brent crude hovering above $87 even as we speak. Now, this, of course, comes as President Trump has issued sweeping new demands on Iran. Turning our attention now to gold. Well, gold has climbed above $4,400 an ounce, reaching its highest level really in 2 months as investment demand for the precious metal, of course, raises. Quick check now on the Asian markets, and Japan, of course, the stocks will open tomorrow. It's a holiday there. But turning our attention to the Kospi now, the benchmark Kospi has hedged higher, extending gains from the previous session, supported, of course, by plans to accelerate AI-related investment. The government plans to enact a special law this year to streamline the implementation of AI investment projects, including a semiconductor cluster backed by combined investment commitments. So that's how the Asian markets are looking. Let's now turn our attention to what really is triggering that spike in oil. Now, US President, of course, Donald Trump has signaled a shift towards economic pressure on Iran, saying Washington is low-keying the conflict and prepared to wait for Iran's economic distress to deepen rather than launch further military strikes. Tehran, meanwhile, is hardening its conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz, including an end to the US naval blockade, compensation and the withdrawal of US troops from the region. The US says it has now redirected 55 commercial vessels away from Iranian ports. Shipping through Hormuz remains severely disrupted, with only 8 confirmed crossings recorded last Friday. But Trump maintains that they have 100% control of the Strait of Hormuz.
The only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others. Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. You know, we've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear. But we control the strait 100%.
And the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve has fallen below 300 million barrels for the first time since 1983, highlighting the strain on global oil inventories amid the Iran war. The SPR fell by 6.1 million barrels last week to 298.7 million barrels, according to the U.S. Energy Department. Trump had ordered the release of 172 million barrels in March after Iran disrupted oil exports through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, once that release is completed, U.S. government stocks could fall to around 243 million barrels. And the Trump administration has extended its waiver of the Dow Jones for another, the Jones Act, I beg your pardon, to another 90 days to keep critical energy supplies moving amid disruptions from the Iran war. The latest waiver is narrower and applies only to vessels carrying certain energy resources, with the Pentagon required to assess individual voyages. The waiver, first issued in March, is now expected to remain in place until mid-November. Now, OpenAI has completed roughly $7 billion secondary share sale, allowing current and former employees to sell shares at an $852 billion valuation. Now, the tender offer follows the company's record funding round in March and provides employees with liquidity ahead of a potential IPO. OpenAI confidentially filed prospects with the US SEC in June, although it has not disclosed a timeline for the public listing. And TSMC, the world's biggest chip maker, reported a 45% year-on-year jump in July revenue to $14.5 billion, signaling continued strength in AI semiconductor demand. The TSMC makes chips for major customers, including NVIDIA and Google's custom chip operations. The company expects 2026 revenue to grow by slightly more than 40% in the US dollar terms and has raised its capex guidance to $60 to $64 billion. Well, at least 111 people have been killed and 87 injured after a powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck western Colombia. Buildings were damaged across several cities, with people still reported trapped under the rubble. The quake struck near San Jose del Palmar in the Pacific coastal province of Choco and was felt across the country. Colombia has declared a national state of emergency, with rescue operations prioritizing those trapped in collapsed buildings. Flights were suspended at 6 airports as authorities inspected infrastructure for damage. The U.S. tsunami warning system said there was no tsunami threat. Now, as part of the 80th Independence Day celebrations, for the first time ever, the national song Vande Mataram will be sung from the ramparts of the Red Fort. There will be sequence followed, and national song will be sung at the Prime Minister's arrival on the ramparts of the Red Fort, says the Defense Secretary R.K. Singh. Listen in.
This is the first time we are doing it with that sequence. The sequence is that he arrives on the rampart, then the national song is played and everybody keeps standing. Thereafter, he unfurls the flag and the national anthem is played.
So this national song is coming for the first time. So Manu
Yes.
Is this going to be a norm in the future, or is it?
Yes, I mean the MHA's guidelines indicate that for national functions it will be the norm. Yes.
Well, speaking in the Rajya Sabha on the taxation bill, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has clarified that the legislation does not impose any tax on UPI transactions. She assured that digital payments through UPI will continue to remain free, addressing concerns over a possible tax on UPI slippage usage.
No. UPI has remained free for consumers since its launch, and every Indian will continue to make this instant digital payment without paying a transaction charge.
And the monsoon, of course, seems to be picking up pace across India and Mumbai. Of course, we're seeing heavy downpours since the morning. Now, central India's rainfall is 0.1% above normal, and India's cumulative monsoon deficit now stands at about 12%. Akansha has more details on this. Morning, Akansha. What is the day looking like? And give us an overall sense of what's happening across the country as well.
That's right. Monsoon activity is easing slightly across the country with no major change in rainfall situation as of August 10. The IMD has forecast heavy rainfall over Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya, East Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Odisha, Uttarakhand and West Madhya Pradesh. Meanwhile, thunderstorms with lightning and gusty winds are also likely over Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Bihar, Jammu and Kashmir and Uttarakhand. Now coming to Mumbai, the city's 7 reservoirs continue to remain in comfortable zone. As of August 10, the city's 7 reservoirs are at 88.88% of their total live storage capacity. Now looking at the latest rainfall deficit numbers released by IMD, so as of August 10, East and Northeast India continues to report the highest deficit at 25.7%. Northwest India has an 11.5% deficit, while Central India is almost at normal levels with rainfall 0.1% above normal. The South Peninsula continues to remain in deficit at 18.3%. So overall, India's cumulative monsoon deficit number now stands at 12% as of August 10.
Well, time for a very short break on Market Cafe. We will be back with more, and we'll also be looking at brokerage notes when we return.
Hello and welcome back to Market Cafe. We're taking you through all the cues you need to watch out for before the start of D Street. And let's talk about the latest on license suspensions as far as restaurants and food eateries are concerned. After Pune, now FTA has suspended Blinkit's Malad West Mumbai's food license with immediate effect over food safety violations. The FDA reports serious hygiene lapses at Blinkit facility as expired food items were found during the inspection. My colleague Akansha is joining us with the details of the story.
That's right. Blinkit is facing action from the Maharashtra FTA over food safety violations at one of its facilities in Mumbai. The FDA suspended the food license of Blinkit's Malad West facility with immediate effect and has also, in fact, ordered the facility to stop its operations. Now, this action comes after an FDA inspection at the facility found several food safety violations. In fact, the inspection found cockroach infestation at the facility. The FDA also found expired food products being stored there. Apart from this, the regulator also flagged improper storage of food products at the facility, which of course raised concerns over the way food items were being handled and stored. Now, following this finding, the FDA has taken action against the facility and suspended its food license with immediate effect. Importantly, the action is against the specific Blinkit facility in Malad West, where these violations were found. So definitely the FDA's actions now puts the focus on food safety violations and hygiene standards at quick commerce facilities, especially as more consumers rely on these platforms for their daily food and grocery needs.
And a U.S. court has dismissed all criminal charges against Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and associate Vineet Jain, ending the legal case that began in 2024. Now, the charges were dismissed with prejudice, meaning the criminal prosecution cannot be reopened. The move came at the request of the U.S. Justice Department, but Judge Nicholas Garofis has raised concerns over what he described as irregularities in the decision-making process. Separately, the Adanis have agreed to an $18 million settlement with the U.S. SEC without admitting guilt.
Right, do watch out for that Adani pack in the trading session today, since the overhang of that court judgment was looming large on the Adani stocks. So we watch out for those Adani names in the trading session today as well. But let's talk about some other names that are going to be in focus, and let's talk about Bharat Forge that reported its Q1 number. A weak set coming in there. There was a loss that hit PAT, and the management eyes a 20 to 25% year-on-year growth and expects the second half to be rather stronger. Avinash is now joining us with the highlights here.
So Bharat Forge came out with its Q1 FY27 results, and we saw the stock was under major selling pressure yesterday in trade, and it fell by around 8 to 9% on back of management lowering its guidance for the Indian manufacturing business from a flat 25% growth, lowering it in the range of 20 to 25% growth, while guiding that in the medium term achieving profitability for its German forging business remains a challenge. The margins also contracted for the EBITDA margins also contracted for the business, and they took a 358 crore rupees provision due to their German forging business not performing well. So that is those were the things that worked against the stock, but the management commentary in their con call was quite strong. They guided that for FY27 they would do a growth of 20 to 25%, with the H2 expected to be much stronger on back of export recovery and defense deliveries. Their margins will also revive from Q2 on price hikes and operating leverage. The defense order book stands at around 11,200 crore rupees, and the largest ever naval order has also been secured. Talking about the new businesses scaling, they foresee that the aerospace to double the revenue in the next 2 years, and the semiconductor business is targeting a top line of $40 million over the next 2 years. The data center top line also to reach double in the next 4 years, all capacity backed and all contract based is the guidance given by the management. Their international business is under challenge, but they've taken, as I said, 358 crore rupees provision, and the aggressive capex cycle has also been announced by the management with the 2,500 crore rupees of fundraise approved by the board subject to shareholder approval, and 1,800 crore rupees of capex announced over the next 12 to 18 months. So a good and strong commentary by Bharat Forge, and we can see some bounce back in the stock in trade today.
All right, Avi, we'll keep a lookout for that one in trade today. But moving on, Wockhardt has posted a strong turnaround in Q1 with revenue growing nearly 26% YOY, while the company turns profitable at 106 crores versus a loss last year. And Merrill is joining us this morning. Good morning, Merrill. It does appear that for them, emerging markets have been the area where they've been able to turn things around.
Absolutely right. So if you take a look at the numbers, then Wockhardt seems to have posted quite a strong set of first quarter performance. We've seen revenues grow 26%. EBITDA has swung and doubled up to 192 crores, with margins also expanding up to 21% from the earlier 10%. Now, the company's also seen a swing back into profitability compared to the loss that they reported in the previous year. And this seems to have been coming, if you look at the geography split, then India branded sales has grown by 21%, while emerging markets has been the standout for the company, growing 64% on a year-on-year basis. UK business also grew by 10%, while Ireland was up 28%. And if we talk about the India business, then growth in the India business seems to have been driven by diabetic therapies, NCE, MROC, and regenerative dermatology, while EM growth has seemed to be benefiting by biotech, insulin, and strong traction coming in companies' Latin America business as well. Now, the key focus for Wockhardt going ahead is, of course, on its novelty antibiotic pipeline, Zenic. That's the first Indian-made and developed drug that Wockhardt has gotten approval for. Its US launch is expected in the first quarter of 2027, with Europe approval expected by the year end. So overall, we've seen quite strong numbers coming in from Wockhardt on a year-on-year basis. There's been an improving profitability in terms of the numbers and also progress on its novel antibiotic pipeline that the company has been very transparent about. These are some of the key factors which will be seen driving the stock in today's trade.
All right, thank you so much to Meryl for joining us with that. But let's keep it with the pharma pack. Gland Pharma that reported a strong first quarter with consolidated revenue rising 19.5% on a year-on-year basis and the profit jumping 47.4%. The company also signed a long-term Sterlite injectable CDMO deal with a potential annual revenue of $90 to $100 million from 2029. Meryl is joining us yet again with the highlights. Over to you, Meryl.
That's right. So Gland Pharma numbers also look quite positive. Revenues risen 20% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA has grown 33%. Margins have also seen an expansion. Now, talking about the growth drivers in Gland Pharma, a key growth driver was the company's US business, where revenues were grown 32% year-on-year, which was helped by new launches as well as higher volumes. Gland also launched 4 other products in US during the first quarter and has secured 7 approvals, which seems to be driving growth further. The other big focus is CDMO as a segment. Now, the company signed a long-term sterile injectable supply agreement with a global pharma player, which is covering over 55 SKUs, and an annual potential of $90 to $100 million is expected to come in here, starting from the year FY29. So that's adding to the company's long-term revenue visibility as well. They're also investing quite aggressively. They've got a 2,000 crore capex program underway. This is going to be focusing on complex injectables, oncology, peptides, and other high-value products, which is going to be driving margins for the company going forward. And for the FY27, in terms of guidance, the management has highlighted for a 15% growth in constant currency, which they're expecting, and they're also working towards a 30% EBITDA margin on a sustainable level. So these are all of the positive factors coming in from Gland Pharma. Very strong results and strong outlook on the management commentary front as well.
So that's one stock, Meryl, we'll be watching out for. When a quick look at the Nifty implied open, that's there on your screen, minus 43 points. But that's all we have time for right now on Market Cafe. Thank you very much for joining Ankita and me on the show. Do stay with us as we continue with more.